Hi, I'm Nick Clewlow, and before joining the team here at Sportfish, I was a career fly fishing guide. I've guided from many countries around the world, from South America all the way through to the Seychelles. Saltwater fly fishing is my kind of main passion and where I kind of have most of my expertise. I spent roughly about 8 seasons as a flats fly fishing guide, and so today I'm going to go through the sort of must-have items that I'd go onto the flats with. Flats fishing takes place in some of the most beautiful and remote places of the planet. And although things may look flat, calm and idyllic in the photographs you've seen, subsurface things tend to be a lot harsher. So taking care of your feet becomes obviously one of the most paramount and important parts of the whole experience. This is where I like to go out with something like the Simms Flat Sneaker, which is a solid, rugged and hardy boot that will look after your feet incredibly well. They've got a good, solid, nice supportive sole to them. They have a nice abrasive resistance area around the side, which is going to help you deal with the coral. And then they've got a nice supportive ankle. When laced up correctly, these will really look after your feet well. As well as going in with the boots, you're going to need a comfortable pair of socks inside them. And something like the Simms Guide wet wading socks is something that makes the comfort just that little bit better. So on the subject of talking about looking after your feet and ankles comes the next item I'd like to talk about, and to me it's possibly even more important than talking about the boots and socks, comes the gravel guard. Now, not only does a gravel guard do what it says it does by protecting and guarding against gravel, but it also serves as a shin guard of sorts. And I personally like to wear mine fairly high up on my boot, as well as the wading sock coming over the top. And this actually covers most of my shins, and on many occasions that has saved me from getting nasty coral cuts and banging into the coral. So we've spoken about the hazards that lie beneath the surface, but another hazard we're going to need to talk about is one that's above the surface, and it's one that we deal with on a daily basis on the flats, and that's the sun. The harshness of the sun can be devastating to anyone's saltwater trip, and so there's some things you're going to need to do to combat the effects of the sun. Firstly, sunscreen. This one from Simms is water resistant for up to 80 minutes. It's quite important, as a lot of them sort of wear off quite quickly, and that's something to take into account. Another thing I would definitely go onto the flats with is a sun mask. These come in all shapes and colors. This one's one from Patagonia with a nice fish decal, but to be honest, the most important factor of it is that it's light, it's breathable, and that it's got the UPF ratings on it. Last but not least, probably pretty obvious, but that'd be a hat. Hats come in all different shapes and sizes. We all have different kind of needs and tastes in hats. You can go for a big wide brim one, you can go for the one with that sort of flap at the back to protect your neck, another factor for that. Or personally, I quite like these ones with the mesh backs. I've got a lot of hair and I find they breathe really nicely. But ultimately, you just need some kind of good headwear to protect you from the sun. So there's one other item of protective gear that I'd like to talk about, and that would be having a decent pair of gloves. Now, gloves serve a couple of purposes. Firstly, they've got the sun protection. These Solarflex guide gloves from Simms have got a UPF rating of 50, so they'll not only protect the back of your hands from the harsh rays of the sun, but they also have durable leather palms, which are really important when handling large fish like GTs, sailfish, various other fish that have got quite sharp scutes and fins, things that can damage your hands. The leather palms of these will definitely be able to hold on to a fish without getting any nicks or cuts. Thirdly, they also have what we call a line guard or stripping guard on the forefinger. And any of you have hooked any of those big powerful oceanic fish, they peel off a lot of line and you could very easily get line cuts and burns on your fingers. And with a decent pair of gloves, you're not going to have any of those kind of problems. So we've talked about protecting your feet, covering up from the sun, wearing a decent hat, but we haven't spoken about whilst you're actually fishing. Now when you're fishing, the most important bit of gear that you're going to need is going to be a pair of decent polarized sunglasses. Now these not only protect you from the sun and the glare, but they also can protect you from a stray hook that may go wandering whilst casting. You never really want to get a hook in your eye. It's a sure way to ruin a trip. I go for the Costa Del Mars, and I tend to choose a green mirror lens when fishing the flats. And the green mirror I find refracts the sort of common light waves that you're going to get on the flats, which would be your sort of yellow light and your green light. If I was going to go offshore, I'd probably go for a blue mirror lens, as that tends to reflect most of the blue light rays. But I find green mirror tends to be the best sort of one for inshore. They cut out the most glare, and that's another reason why I go for Costa glasses, is they've got a polarizing factor of 580, which is much higher than most of their competitors. So that allows you to see just that little bit further into the glare and cut through the water a little bit easier. Another really important piece of equipment I want to talk about quickly is the importance of taking a decent pair of pliers out with you. These are the Simms ultra lightweight pliers. And they've got a number of important features on them. Firstly, they've got durable hard-wearing jaws, which I'd use for debarbing the hooks and removing hooks from fish's mouths. On the side of them, they've got a really hardcore pair of nippers or line cutters, and these will really easily go through anything from 130-pound mono all the way down to your 20-pound bonefish leaders, as well as being able to cut through some of the wire traces that you'd probably use for barracuda. I also use my pliers for tying on sort of some of the bigger flies, use them as something to grab a little bit of purchase. And I've used my pliers from anything from those kind of things I've spoken on, as well as sometimes having to repair boat motors and fix various other objects on the boat from time to time. As they're such an important piece of equipment to me, I wouldn't want to drop them overboard, and so the last thing I'd take with them would definitely be a plier lanyard, and that's something I'd attach to my belt so that I would never drop them overboard. There's going to be a number of other things you're going to want to carry with you on the flats, namely a few fly boxes, extra leaders. You're going to need somewhere to put your sunscreen, probably carry a light windproof, waterproof jacket for when the squall comes along, and basically where you'll keep your camera, your lunch, your water, etc., etc. This is where the importance of a fully waterproof backpack comes into play. Simms do this one called the Dry Creek. This is a zipped option. It's got a 100% fully waterproof dry zip on it. Other ones that they may do will have a roll top option, but basically you're looking for a durable, solid, fully waterproof backpack that's going to keep all your kind of extras and essentials perfectly dry. So saltwater flies come in many different shapes and sizes, but for me the three that I'd probably not go onto the flats without would be number one, my favorite, the GT brush fly. This is a tan GT brush fly, and I've caught more GTs on this than probably any other fly that I've used. The second fly that I wouldn't go on the flats without would be the Flexo crab. And these are deadly when it comes down to permit fishing, triggerfish, bumpies, even large bones will go for this. And I've even caught GTs on these as well. And third, final but not least, would be the Pillow Talk. This is a fly I sort of think of as the best bonefish fly I've ever used. It lands really softly and gently for those really spooky big bones, and you can fish this in a number of different ways. Those are the three flies that I'd probably never go onto the flats without. Hopefully you found today's video useful in learning about all the other little bits and pieces that are involved with all your flats gear. It goes without saying that you're going to need a decent rod, reel, line, various different sizes once you're out there, but we just really wanted to show you some of the other smaller bits and pieces that you'll need whilst flats fishing. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching and hope to see you out there on the flats.